Hello.
Welcome to the Beauty is Terror podcast.
Yes.
My name is Haley.
I'm Galia.
And today we're having kind of a little bit of a mixed bag. We're going to be reading some Reddit threads and also talking about my trip to Salem, Massachusetts a little bit.
I'm excited.
Yeah. Which one should we start with? What would you prefer?
I would love to first hear about your trip and then we can go through the threads.
Well, I won't tell you about my entire trip because it was 5 days and we did a lot. But the standout moment was my friends and I decided to go visit a psychic medium. And, when in Rome, we decided we're in Salem. This is probably going to be the best place if we're going to ever visit a psychic. Now, we are very much skeptics. And we were very much skeptics going into this.
But I sense a but. This is me predicting the future. Yes, I sense a but.
Yes, exactly. So this is not actually my story. It's actually my friend's story. But I will I'll give the relevant information as I go in the story.
Yeah.
So we decided this was Wednesday, I believe, last Wednesday.
Okay.
Early afternoon, we're just kind of walking around checking out the shops in Salem. We decided to stop into the store, and when we walked in, the cashier was like, "Oh, hey, welcome in. Just check out the store. We have some availability for psychic readings. We're doing past life readings, mediumship, that kind of thing." So my friend and I were like, "Well, yeah, we might as well do it." So we did. We signed up for it. They were able to get us in right away. I did the past life reading, which, it was fun. It was interesting.
Okay.
And my friend decided to talk to the psychic medium. Her intention going in, she had a grandmother who passed, but I believe before she was born, and her intention going in was to try to connect with this grandmother. She's also very much a skeptic. She gave this psychic no info going in.
Oh my God.
She didn't want to give her anything to feed, to give her some places to start to so she could build off that. My friend gave her nothing, absolutely nothing. So the backstory here, we have a friend who passed away in 2020. He was a younger guy. I believe he was 24 at the time. He passed in a car accident.
Wow.
He didn't pass right away. He was in a coma for I think a little over a week. And as soon as my friend sat down, I believe they used tarot cards, so she had her pick some tarot cards. And the first thing the psychic says is, "I'm sensing a young man who died in a car accident who didn't pass right away." Yeah, and my friend, she said she immediately started crying at this point. The psychic was telling her, another little bit of backstory here is our friend also had, a couple years before he passed, his mother passed from cancer.
Wow.
And what the psychic was telling my friend was that he was in this accident. He was in a coma for a while, and he had some injuries that were severe enough that it probably would have impacted his quality of life if he had survived. So what she said is he was given a choice, basically. He was either he could stay or he could pass on. And what he chose to do was, because of the severity of his injuries and because his mom was on the other side already and he wanted to see her, he chose to pass on instead of staying around. And she just got all this info without my friend telling her anything at all. It was very weird.
That's insane. So did that make you a believer?
I mean, kind of. It was. I don't know.
I feel like, because it's not exact, it's not it's not science. So
yeah, exactly.
I feel like when you go in and you want to know this very specific thing, but assuming that all this is true, and I gotta say, I am a believer. I mostly believe that there are things that are happening that we just don't know how to explain.
Yeah.
And maybe there is ultimately a formula for this. Maybe ultimately there is a science to this, but we're not there yet. So everything just, feels very mysterious and vague and all that. But, you come in wanting to hear a very specific, thing about a person, whatever. But since it's not, very accurate science, whatever the psychic or the other person with the powers or whatever they're getting is not necessarily what you want to hear. Right. But so she wanted to hear about her grandma, but then she got something else.
She did get to hear from her grandmother as well. She also got to hear from another friend who had also passed.
Wow. That's amazing.
The part that kind of made me laugh was, so me and this friend who had passed were pretty close. And I have my boyfriend and I are long distance. And the psychic was kind of asking a little bit about, like, my boyfriend, her boyfriend, whatever. And my boyfriend lives in Colombia. She didn't say, like, where he was from, but the lady was like, I'm getting, like, a place with, like, lizards or something. Like, and my friend's like, well, yeah, I mean, her boyfriend lives in Colombia. And she's like, okay, well, he just wants her to know he approves of the relationship. Like, that is too funny. So I got the approval of my friend who had passed about my current relationship, which I thought was very funny. But
so one thing I'm interested to hear, she said that he had a choice to make between staying and, basically getting reunited with his mom. Knowing him, would you say that this choice was something, like, that decision is something that makes sense?
Absolutely, yeah.
So that is something that he would have done.
Yes, I believe. I really believe so.
Wow, that's really...
I know. We were... She's telling us this, we all just started crying. And, like, I don't cry very often. Like, maybe, I don't know, like, once every other year at the most, but...
Yeah, I feel, it's a special, it's a special kind of pain when things hit you so abruptly. When someone, dies or gets stuck in this kind of, between life and death, and you can't really connect with them. Because there's a difference, at least in my opinion, when someone, I don't know, is being diagnosed with, God forbid, a terminal illness, and you still have that time to process. I mean, death is hard anyways, obviously, but I feel like there's just a difference between someone passing in a car crash, like one day you're sitting having a coffee with them, and the next day they're gone.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's kind of the thing too, is like my mom passed in 2012, and she'd been sick for a long time, and that, I mean, obviously I was very sad about it.
Yeah.
But I had enough time to process.
It's just different.
Friend, it was so sudden.
Yeah.
That it was just a million times worse when you don't, you have this friend who's 24 years old, just starting life, and all of a sudden it's just cut short unexpectedly like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was really crazy.
Well, thank you for sharing the story. It's very interesting, and I now understand why you wanted to do, an episode about previous lives.
Yeah.
And
honestly, I kind of wanted to do that before we had this experience, but then after having that done, like I said, I did the past life reading, and that was very interesting as well. But that, obviously I have no way to prove any of that, so it's all just
no, but it's just it's fun.
Nice to hear, but like it's fun, whatever. I don't know what I'm gonna do with this information, but
it's fun to speculate, cool. For sure.
For sure, definitely. I feel like we should maybe, just from what I learned while I was there, at some point in the future, we should do an episode on the Salem witch trials.
We definitely should. And one thing that I wanted to ask you, being an INTJ, people, I feel like people see us, non-INTJs, see us almost as prophets. So I wanted to ask you, do you feel witchy?
Yes.
I feel witchy as well, definitely. Yeah. It's this intuition. It's the I know stuff, but I don't know how I know it. Yeah. Right? But I know that I know it.
in high school especially, I feel like I could always pick up, like, for example, in my friend group, like, if somebody new came in and I would get, like, a bad feeling about them, and then I couldn't place why, and then something would happen, you know, months later, and I'm like, well,
I told you.
I was right. Yeah, I
or like, I didn't tell you, but I felt it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's a combo of that intuition, but also just seeing patterns, because when people, you know, deliberately and blindly ignore patterns, they obviously open themselves to being unpleasantly surprised and just walking into, you know, mistakes, essentially. So if you're doing the same thing over and over again and you're expecting a different outcome, or like you're repeating the same mistake, you're repeating the same pattern, and you just, you know, this time it's going to be different. No, it's not going to be different. It's very simple science.
Isn't that the definition of insanity?
Exactly.
Over and over
insanity,
and different results.
stupidity in some cases, but I feel like, you know, INTJs just have that. It's personally, I feel like it's very hard to surprise me, to shock me, because I don't know, maybe it's a side effect of overthinking, because we've already considered all the possible scenarios. So wherever the chips, you know, end up falling, it's never a, you know, you kind of weigh it. It's like, what's more likely, but essentially we've seen it all. So
right.
So yeah, I'm definitely feeling witchy.
Yeah, exactly. No, I agree. I feel the same way. I also just have always been really interested in stuff like that as well.
Me too.
Like the metaphysical,
for sure.
And like, I don't know. I also had a friend, funny enough, who was a male INTJ, and he's from the Boston area. And he was very much into, like, the same kind of... He would visit Salem all the time. Like, he was very interested in, like, metaphysical stuff and witchcraft and all that. And I thought that was interesting. We were both INTJs, and we were both kind of interested in that.
Yeah, because we are obviously, you know, drawn to facts and things that you can prove and quantify and, you know, all that. But I don't know. I think it might be coming from, because I'm trying to understand where this is coming from, right?
Yeah.
Because you would think it's kind of like theater. Remember one time when you told me I was actually in theater in high school, and that's very not like me. And I was like, hey, I'm same. I was doing theater as well. Like, this is weird. But then I was trying to think, where is this coming from? And I feel personally with, you know, the supernatural, it comes from a place of curiosity, a place of maybe what we have and what we're able to touch and hold. It's not enough. You want to know that there's something more out there, and it comes from a place of hope. It comes from, I don't know, at least for me personally, because I genuinely feel like, you know, if we die and all that's left is a rotting corpse, then it's not a very happy thought. You know, I can't prove it, but I would rather not believe in that.
It doesn't feel like a very satisfying end.
Yeah. Maybe this is just to cope, but, you know, this is what I choose to believe.
Right. So, quick question for you. What are your thoughts on, like, astrology?
I don't know. I feel like, because I used to be very much into it in the past, but now it's kind of, I don't know. I don't know if there's a science to it. My friend, Jenna, if she's listening to this, shout out. She's pretty into it, and she did the map thingy for me. I forgot what it's called.
Oh, like the natal chart.
Yeah, she did that, and she was telling me all these things. It was such a long ass read, but I mean, I don't know. I guess some things were, you know, there is some truth to it, but I also feel like it's such a general truth that it can apply to almost anyone. You know, kind of like those astrology tidbits that you read on the paper, like today you're gonna be this and that. It can be interpreted so many ways. It's like there's no So yeah.
I have a lot of coworkers who are really into astrology. I don't necessarily know if I believe in it, but I think it's fun. It's interesting. It's just it's like a fun little pastime. I could see just kind of picking it up and like looking into it a little bit, but obviously there's no way to there's no science behind it or anything, so it's kind of hard to want to invest too much time and thought into it. But it's fun, I guess.
Yeah, it's fun, but I gotta say that if I'm comparing it to MBTI, for example, because I used to, when I was younger, I was into astrology and kind of, what are the attributes or like the characteristics of certain signs or whatever. I was kind of delving into that, but I feel like in recent years, obviously it's MBTI, and MBTI feels more solid.
Yeah.
So
I mean, there's definitely more like actual scientific and psychological backing behind MBTI. A lot of people like to compare the two, though, and say that MBTI is just adult astrology. So, I don't know.
So I graduated.
yeah, exactly.
All right. So, yeah. So should we just move on to our subject for this episode?
Sure, sounds good.
Okay, so what we decided to do, because I love to sometimes go on Reddit and kind of, dive into the rabbit hole, and it is a hell of a rabbit hole there. I mainly check out the INTJ subreddit and the INTJ, what's it called? Let me see. So one of them is true INTJ, and one of them is INTJ female. Mm-hmm. And I used to read on INTJ female quite often, not as much anymore, but I found a lot of the discussions there pretty, relatable. I feel like in the general INTJ subreddit, there's just a lot of bullshit and, edgelords and stuff like that. I don't know. I feel like the way that INTJs are being represented in pop culture versus the internet versus real life, it's just, like three completely different just things, because in real life, being an INTJ doesn't really feel that glamorous, to be honest with you.
It's definitely glamorized in media, absolutely.
But then, in I don't know, like movies and TV shows, we are the badass villains, and
the super cool, mysterious guy who's always right about everything. And
so edgy
wrong.
and edgy and dark.
Knows exactly what's gonna happen.
Yeah. So and the mastermind.
In real life, half the time I'm just kind of guessing at things sometimes.
Yeah. And I just feel like an alien cat. Yeah. Half alien, half cat. Mm-hmm. Barely anything human, if I'm honest. There's maybe like 1% human.
Yep.
Once in a blue moon. But yeah. So just going through, these subreddits, I don't know, like sometimes it feels really relatable and just fun to kind of see what people are writing. But a lot of the times, and I came across comments, but more than once, of people saying most of the people here are not even real INTJs. They're just enjoy toying with the idea more than anything. And I also did read, and I feel like this definitely makes sense, that most people that take the test for the first time, they get mistyped for INFJs or INTJs. Like those are the two.
Yeah, those are the two that are the most mistyped. Absolutely.
Yeah, and it makes sense. It definitely does.
Mm-hmm. I want to say, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe ENTJs are also kind of up there for mistypes as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but maybe for ESTJs, I feel like, there's a lot of similarities there. And ENTJs are pretty rare.
I did also hear a lot of, I think it's ISFJs or ISFPs. I think ISFPs
Yeah.
are mistyped as INTJs as well.
So true. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. So, but yeah, I don't know. Once you meet another INTJ, it's like, it's cosmic, you know. It definitely is. All right. So, should we just jump into the first thread?
Yeah, for sure. This is the "Why do people react negatively to female thinkers" thread.
And this is the main concept of this episode.
I'll go ahead and read this first one.
Mm-hmm.
It is an unfortunate pattern that a lot of XXT users who are glorified, perceived as smart, witty, cunning, and a leader, etc., only suit descriptions of a man. They are praised for being concise, cutting, and direct. I see the majority of males typing as thinking types, or I believe it's supposed to be typed as thinking types, and they are the most desired of the population, and that's good and dandy. However, I have been seeing an increase in spite and vitriol against logical women. It's worse for TE-dom females, such as EXTJs. The dominant TE men are admired as leaders, visionaries, and intelligent alpha types, but people tend to be extremely critical of the women. Even ENTP women are not spared from this narrative despite having FE and not being as blunt as other thinkers. It's as if people find opinionated women difficult. Is it because society told us that if women aren't submissive, dependent, and demure, they are too, quote, masculine? I've met TE-dom women who felt like they had to be ashamed of their achievements because they didn't want to appear, quote, narcissistic and, quote, arrogant. Literally what? Whenever one is in an argument, people think she's hot-headed and dramatic. If she gets a promotion, she must have tricked her way to get there. If she's a leader, people think she's a boss bitch. If she makes a lot of money, she's trying to be a man. No one would blink an eye if an ENTJ man were being blunt, crass, and instigative, there we go.
Yeah.
He would get patted on the back for being a, quote, logical Chad. So why is it different, when women who fall under thinking types do the same?
So, yeah, there's definitely, the question of genders here.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. I mean, this person pretty much hit the nail on the head, where, women are definitely, even in this day and age, still expected to be submissive, quiet, not masculine.
I gotta confess, the two types that probably intimidate / turn me on the most are the EXTJs. But there's something about ENTJs. They are like us on steroids.
Oh yeah.
So it, with ENTPs, the at least from what I've personally experienced, there's a bit of a rivalry there. At least for me, when I'm interacting with them, there's a bit of rivalry. There's a lot of madness, and just it feels like a crazy, roll downhill together. Essentially, it's like Simba and Nala rolling down the hill, and it's beautiful. It really is. It's out of all the types that I've met, it's probably my favorite interaction with someone. But ENTJs, they're just incredibly intimidating because they're us, but I always think about introverts as kind of the what's it called, the iceberg meme, you know what I mean? So with INTJs, it's just the opposite of that. So there's more, I feel like they show you more than there's behind the curtain. So the majority of it is in front of the curtain. So it's just very, I don't know, but I do admire them as well because they're more of a go-getters. I feel like INTJs we take a lot of time planning and preparing, and sometimes it's not a great thing. You know what I mean? Because sometimes it's actually what's holding us back. That, I got that 5-year plan. I got that 10-year plan. Yeah. And sometimes you just gotta jump into the waters and get yourself wet.
Yeah, ENTJ women, well, I guess ENTJs in general are definitely more go-getters as opposed to, INTJs who are a lot more like a lot more behind the scenes, like pulling the strings from the background.
Yeah.
I will say I agree with this post for the most part. I don't know if it's just kind of like an internet culture thing, but I feel like the general population is probably very like intimidated by ENTJ women, but I do see this kind of side of the internet where you have a lot of like, especially like INTP men who are like looking for like the dommy mommy type of ENTJ women that they want to like step on them like that, and they kind of are into that. I see that a lot on the internet, but I feel like ENTJ women in real life are probably face a lot more backlash.
I would think that INFPs would be more into ENTJs because all the INTPs that I met and all the ENTPs that I met, I see, this is my frustration talking, my personal frustration talking, that I feel like INTPs and ENTPs are organically and mainly are more attracted to feelers rather than, rather than thinking extroverts. That is my personal opinion, at least from like what I've seen. And it's just, I don't know, like, where was I going with this? I had to complain because I had to complain because I feel I am an ENTP simp and I feel unappreciated.
Yeah. Also, I'm just gonna put this out there right now. Did not have using the word dommy mommy on my podcast bingo card for this year, so that one's checked off.
All right, fair enough. But what I completely forgot where I was going with this. I forgot.
I would be interested in re-examining this last paragraph where if thinker women are argumentative, then they try to argue in their favor, they're seen as hot-headed or dramatic. If they get a promotion, they think she must have been doing some like underlying work to like, or underhanded work to try to get there, that kind of thing, or like very much seen as like bossy. I feel like that's probably more true with ENTJs, but I could kind of see that as well for INTJs.
I feel like, no matter like how I try to handle a situation, especially if there are emotions are involved, I don't respond the way that people expect me to respond. Yeah. And then I just get completely misinterpreted. So it's like you can never win. And, I don't know.
Yeah.
At least for me, like, I realize that I don't have the visible reactions that people think that I should have under certain circumstances. And then it's like what are you gonna do? I'm sorry, I don't operate the same.
Do you feel like in the workplace you unintentionally make a lot of enemies?
I feel like it's definitely a trap that if I'm not mindful enough, I can walk into so easily, because we are cutting through the bullshit right to the core of things, because we understand what's important and when to invest. And this is also something that I feel like it comes from a place of the cutting through the bullshit thing. It comes from a place of just being very respectful and mindful of my own resources, and just realizing that my resources, my energy, and my time are limited. So I'm not interested in, buttering you up for 20 minutes, just sweet talking you, whatever, like preparing you. I would like to cut to the chase here.
Yes, I am the exact same way. I've been told before that I know I'm too blunt. I'm not,
Exactly. And
I'm not gonna like you said, I'm not gonna spend a bunch of time like coming over if I have an issue, or like something needs to be done. I'm not gonna stand here for 10 minutes trying to like you said, butter you up before asking something. I'm just gonna say, hey, can you do this thing?
Yeah.
And if that comes across as blunt, sorry, but that's just how I operate.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I feel like, going into MBTI, it's definitely because I always felt, very out of place. Every place that I went, I felt out of place and just and misunderstood. There was definitely that element of being misunderstood because you just your mind doesn't operate the way that it does for other people. And I think that it's even more, like, how would I say it? It stands out even more when you're a female thinker, because most females are feelers. So you're a minority, within that. So it's double shit, basically.
Yeah. One of the top comments on here is, we're considered bitches because we aren't supposed to, quote, think and act like men. We're supposed to be petite, weak, and frail, but when we're assertive, aggressive, and dominate the room we're in, they feel emasculated.
Yeah, and it's it's a slippery slope. People call it arrogance, but I think of it as confidence, especially because if you know the facts and you have them to back you up, then I don't think that's arrogant. If I know what I'm talking about, it's not arrogance.
No.
If I don't know what I'm talking about and I'm still being very on and, just bullshitting my way, then that is stupidity. But I feel basically like you have to be aware of your limitations of what you have to know when you don't know something.
Yeah.
If you can lower your head and say, listen, I'm going to check it and, get back to you, then it's not arrogance. It's being self-aware.
Yeah. This comment says, I'm INTJ and I've been black sheeped my entire life for speaking out and being direct with my communicating. Being able to be outspoken and loud is powerful, and some people are intimidated by it.
Yeah, right. But I feel this is what the point that I was starting to make earlier, that just one of the reasons that I got into MBTI, except for, just that sense, finding that sense of belonging, but also it is a tool to understand those that are different from you and the way that they operate. And once you are able to understand them, then you can kind of, close that gap a little, like start building that bridge. It's, for me personally, this is kind of what I'm having a difficult time with feelers, to be honest. Like, I don't want to, generalize, but just broadly speaking, I'm not the best with them. But this is like my personal experience and the way that I grew up. My mother is an INFP and not a very healthy one, I would say. So it's just INTJ, INFP, it's not the best combo, I would say. But
yeah, I don't know. I get along really well with INFPs when they are healthy. Unhealthy INFPs, I used to have one as a roommate who was very much an unhealthy INFP, and I can definitely see like where conflict could arise very easily there.
Yeah, so
not going into too much detail, but like
yeah, so unhealthy XNFPs. So we had someone on the Discord. I don't know if you remember him, Vin. He is an ENTP, and he used to say about ENFPs that when they're unhealthy, it means emotional terrorism. And I remember not really understanding what it means until I realized that I have some XNFPs in my life that were pulling that very specific, trick. And it's just, I feel like it's double difficult for us, because one of the things that INTJs hate most is to be manipulated emotionally manipulated. That's like one thing that you should never do.
Yeah.
Never try to get us to do something, like pull our strings. Don't try to puppet us. It's not going to end well.
It won't work.
It won't work, and it also won't. I feel like we see through it real quick. Yes. And then once we realize what you're trying to do, emotional door slam.
Yes, 100%. I agree. All right.
So,
Should we move on to the next thread?
definitely. So, oh, this post was deleted. What the hell?
Yeah, I just saw that. We can skip that one.
All right. All right. So, struggles of an INTJ female. Okay, so this one is basically posing a question, not really saying. But the question is, what are the struggles that you had in life that you believe are caused by being an INTJ female? Could be social, career, all sorts of struggles. So let's see what people are saying.
Yeah.
All right, so would you like to read something, or should I just pick something at random?
The second one kind of seems like it might resonate a bit. This person was saying that they definitely have a lot of social struggles. I'm just going to paraphrase here. They think they come off as intimidating and aloof. A lot of people just won't approach them. I have resting bitch face.
Same.
So I feel like I can feel that a little bit. But, yeah, this kind of ties into our last, thread too, whereas...
This is interesting. I'm
not very warm. They just don't want to approach you.
Yeah, this is also interesting. They say, I'm not interested in clothes or makeup. I don't do drugs or drink. I like reading, watching, listening to stuff outside of the mainstream. I feel like, this is very on point because a lot of the times I just don't pick on, what's hot right now. Or like, people drop these big names. This is what's going on right now in the world, and I'm like, I have no idea who this person is.
Yeah, I feel that way when it comes to musicians, especially when people are talking about, like, this person just dropped this album, and I'm like, I don't know who the hell you're talking about.
Yeah.
I agree. Like, I don't go to parties. I don't, like, do drugs or anything like that. I do like clothes, though. I am very much into fashion. Not so much, like, trendy things, but more classic...
Yeah.
Timeless fashion and fashion history.
The fashion that lasts. The kind that lasts and means something.
Yeah.
So the top comment says something interesting. People think I have bad intentions when I don't. People ganging up together to go against me. People spreading lies and rumors against me. My sin being a loner and being fine with it. So... growing up, this should be an episode, how we were in high school for sure, but
yes, I agree.
I feel like I was a lot more together than most people, because people were very easily swayed and, influenced and whatnot. And I always had a very, kind of a mind of my own. So I was okay taking the road less traveled, even though everyone else would go left, or whatever. I never, I don't know, I was almost content with my own loneliness because then I could hear my thoughts. And also, they say people are ganging up together to go against me. And this is not really, it's not, it doesn't have anything to do directly with what they're saying in this comment, but I feel like because I would come off strong, or people would assume that I was just a strong person, then they kind of, I don't know if shun you, but they almost assume that you don't need anything from them.
Yeah.
And not just, physically or like, stuff that you can quantify, but almost, but also like mentally, emotionally. People are like, I don't know, I feel like people aren't rushing to be mentally supportive of me, I guess, because I come off, strong and opinionated and whatnot, and can't be swayed easily.
Yeah. That's that's kind of funny. I've had a conversation with one of my friends before where I've made comments to her before where I've been like, I sometimes I just feel like people just think that they can be mean to me because they know I can take it.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
That's happened quite a bit to me. Where like they know that I'm not gonna really get upset, so they think they can just kind of throw whatever at me.
And it's messed up because when we're doing it, I know that we're definitely doing it, but we're not doing it from a place of malice. It comes from a place of we're just, okay, we're blunt because, that's just the way we are. We don't sugarcoat things, but we're not doing it to hurt anyone. And I genuinely feel like, so I've been in situations in life when people, blamed me for deliberately trying to hurt them and they got hurt. And to be honest, okay, this is gonna sound really bad and arrogant, but I was just thinking to myself while they were blaming me, you think I hurt you now? Just imagine what I can do if I actually put my head into really trying to hurt you, because I didn't mean it this time, but if I mean it, trust me, you're gonna know pain.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Not exactly on this topic, but adjacent to it, you were more into like the alternative scene in high school, correct?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, me too. I feel like most INTJs probably were.
I know, we had that goth, dark.
The emo phase, yeah.
I don't know. It's almost like this. Okay, this is something that I feel, if there's a thinker out there that did not have an existential crisis by the time that they were 12 or 13, they should come forward, because I do not know a single thinker that did not go through that suicidal, what am I doing? Nietzsche, God is dead, fuck everything. Period. I do not know a single thinker that did not go through that,
The angsty period.
100%. All right. Someone in their early 40s, constantly judged as stuck up, talked about, stabbed in the back, pushed out of groups, the burnt of jealous females' antics. Interesting. Proposed over a dozen times. Seriously, can't recall. All different men. Apparently, I'm so different, understanding, honest, strong, This is interesting. The way that the other sex sees us. This is also interesting because, being a pick-me girl, it's being very villainized, I should say, but I feel like INTJ females are pick-me girls, but but I'm taking out the cynicism out of it, because we truly are different.
I think that INTJ females can be seen as pick-me girls because they kind of are seen as not being stereotypically girly. When I think of pick-me girls, though, I think of girls who are doing, or like acting the way they act, doing what they want, or like, they're changing their behavior to appeal to men specifically. So that I don't really consider, like, you have told me before that you thought that you were a pick-me, and I do not see that at all in you, because I feel like you're like not doing it with the intent of like appealing to men, if that makes sense.
Yeah, we're not doing anything with the intention of appealing to anyone. Right, we are exactly. The Sigma. I feel like INTJs are the Sigma females, essentially. Mm-hmm. That's how I would, define us, because I feel like we have very strong morals, or like ideas of how we see the world and how we think things should be. Mm-hmm. And this is also something, the moral alignment thingies. There's chaotic evil, chaotic neutral, all those different types.
Yeah, so the D&D alignments.
Yeah, so I always think about that, and I realized that, I feel like we would be okay breaking rules and laws if we feel like it's the right thing to do. Mm-hmm. And maybe that is where the villain INTJ, comes from. Maybe that's where it starts, like in those small cracks.
I think so as well.
All right. Anything else we see here?
No, I think a lot of these other comments kind of touch on the same points for the most part.
What about get bored real quick by romance?
I think that sometimes INTJs can fall into the trap of holding people and themselves, but occasionally other people to an incredibly high standard. And when they do something that is in opposition of, the standard that you're holding them to, that can be a real turnoff. I wouldn't say getting bored, I would say more just like you start to see the cracks very quickly in relationships.
It's really interesting because there's a famous meme by... Have you ever seen Peaky Blinders?
I've seen the first episode.
So there's a famous meme by Thomas Shelby. He says something like, I'm not sure if it's the quote of the actual character, but it's something about... wait, let me see if I can find it. Because I just feel like it's very accurate. Yeah, so there's a woman sitting across from him, and she says, "What's wrong with you?" And he says, "I have this weird self-esteem issue where I find myself when I hate myself, but I still think I'm better than everyone else."
I think I've seen that before.
And it's just, I feel like I really fucking felt that to the core, and I feel like it also translates, to the way that we are with people. Because on one hand, I'm very suspicious of new people, but on the other hand, if this is very rare, but if I have an instant, kind of click with someone, like if the chemistry is on, then it's just, I don't know. The thing about romance is, at least for me, I realize that I feel like most thinking judgers are, again, naturally attracted to feelers, and probably perceivers, because there's something very symbiotic, I would say, between in a relationship between judgers and perceivers that I 100% agree with.
Yeah.
But personally, for me, I just find myself more attracted to XNTPs. And I don't know how to explain it, because it's not the romance that, you would think. It's not the ENFPs.
Yeah. What's really funny? I think it's very interesting that neither of us are attracted to people of the type that is allegedly our ideal match, which would be ENFPs.
I know.
Whereas you like ENTPs and I like INFJs.
Hey, I used to love INFJs as well, but the thing about INFJs is that I have a long history with an INFJ, and maybe I'll get into it at some point, not mentioning their name, but obviously, but I just, after everything...
It sounds like you had an experience with a very unhealthy INFJ.
Yes, and so every INFJ that I met, I haven't met that many, but looking back at my life, because obviously I wasn't aware of MBTI, in the past, but I realized that I attract a lot of INFJs and INFPs. And
It's really funny because my entire social circle is either INFJs, INFPs, or INTJs. It doesn't surprise me. Two of my best friends growing up I'm 100% sure that they were either INFJs or this is confusing. Sorry. So I'm pretty sure they were feeler judgers and feeler perceivers. So I'm gonna put it that way. But this person, this INFJ, I'm very wary of them, because it is the most, in my opinion, how do I put this without sounding terrible? Misleading, or I feel like they are in a crisis with themselves. They have an identity crisis with themselves, and
if they're not careful, then it translates to their, and kind of bleeds into their relationship with other people. And they can mirror other people very well. So it doesn't matter what type you are. They can make you feel seen and understood and all that good stuff. And they can bewitch you. And that to me is dangerous and something that I don't feel like I can count on. And it's because of their FE, obviously, because they're feelers. And I feel that I'm blind to it. And that's what scares me. This is my blind spot. I don't feel like I can let my guard down around them, especially after what my personal experience. So I'm always wary of that. But I don't know, with other thinkers, I feel more confident because I feel like I'm reading the map correctly, and it's just there are no surprises. And I don't know, my dynamics with ex-NTPs is, it's almost like a sibling like rivalry, or like best friends or whatever, but I genuinely feel like they make me a better person. ENTJs as well, because they have, I don't know, it's their ideas, it's their way of thinking. Their ENTPs are also, they have all our functions but backwards. That's amazing.
See, I don't know too many ENTPs. I am 100% certain, and I think you might have touched on this before, that INTPs are very much attracted to feelers.
Yeah, they are. It's a pity. It breaks my heart. It breaks my heart. But I don't know. INTPs, I've always clicked with them. Always.
Now, actually, back to that one comment. My question for you is, I have seen this posted before, I believe, on the INTJ subreddit, where, and I'm just curious to see how you feel about this, because I relate to this 100%, where you become interested in somebody and then you start fantasizing about, like, your entire future with them and, like, planning out, like, your future with this person, and then slowly you start to, like I said, you see the cracks, and then you're like, oh, I don't know, I'm not sure if I'm feeling it.
I feel, well, this is going to sound terrible, and this is something that I feel like INFJ taught me. Okay, this is going to sound terrible, but I know it's going to sound terrible. If anyone listens to this, they're going to cringe so hard right now. It might make them rage quit, but I got to be honest. I don't know if I believe in romance or love the way most people believe in it. I feel like just what this person taught me is that, like you said, there's the fantasy of everything that's going on in our heads, and there's the reality of things. And the love happens the love that I feel happens in that gap between what's in actuality and what I think in my head. So, and it's just, the love is just filling the blanks with what I think this person is thinking, what this person said to me, the way we were together and all that. But you can't really rely on that. And when you feel, I mean, obviously it didn't happen to me right away, but only years later because this is a person that I was in touch with for many, many years.
Right.
So only in hindsight, you kind of question yourself, and you replay and recreate all the time, your conversations, all the time that you were together, and you're asking yourself, was I just imagining this? Was I misinterpreting it? And it's very... It's tricky. I think it's actually worse for me because most people, they don't live in their heads as much as we do.
I was just going to say the struggles of being somebody that lives in your own head so much.
Exactly. And also, when you're generally when you generally feel very disconnected from the world, and then you click with someone, then inevitably I feel like that connection is just 10 times stronger than it is for your average Joe.
Right.
So breaking apart from them, or like, killing that idea, that emotion, whatever, moving on from that, to me, is 10 times more difficult than it would be for the average Joe as well.
Yeah.
So I feel like because of that, I just have to be a lot more careful. And maybe that is why it's so hard for me to form an attachment, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
On that note, maybe we should move on to the next one.
Yes. So, INTJs, how do you behave when you're sad? And they say, I get
What a transition.
Yeah, and they say, I get very aggressive. I say stuff and regret later. Makes me even more sad. What do you think?
I'm not that way at all. It takes a lot for me to get aggressive. I think I've only gotten aggressive and yelled at somebody when I was mad at them maybe once or twice in my entire life.
When I'm angry, I can definitely raise my voice, but I do not say stuff that I regret later.
No.
So, okay, so when I'm nervous or anxious, I get really, really quiet, and in my head, I withdraw, and even more so that I am usually. So it's just, I feel like it's scary, because I'm even, more so in my head, like I'm becoming even more introverted and more, in my own head and my thoughts. And it doesn't look good. It's that death glare, resting bitch face on,
Actually, it's funny you say that, because my friend actually had mentioned to me, I think just a couple days ago, that when we were on the plane to Boston on our way to Salem, her and I are both very nervous flyers.
Me too. Oh my God.
Yeah. She looked over, she's like, I looked over and she's like, I could not even tell that you were nervous. She's like,
Yeah.
You were very calm. I was like, yeah, but in my head I was freaking out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But, you wouldn't be able to tell by looking at me. I was very calm externally.
Yeah, so it's that poker face, but I don't know, maybe we're just trying to recenter instead of, I guess this is, introverts introverting, because, everything's happening again under the surface. It's the iceberg thing. But where was I going with this? So I don't say things, I hardly ever have the slip of the tongue that can really cut someone. And I feel like it comes from years and years of practice, because in the past, when I was, and I mean in the past 10 years ago or so, I consider myself to be a pretty good judge of character. And I know that I can say things to people, even people that I don't know that well, but I feel like I can analyze them quite well. So I can kind of pinpoint their kryptonites pretty easily. And I just believe in, in the power of the word. So sometimes when you say, not sometimes, all the time, once you said something, you can't take it back. So you have to be very, very careful, because some people, you can break them with just one sentence. So you have a responsibility, especially if you're a good reader. You know what I mean?
Are you also a bottler? If you get upset, do you bottle it up?
Yes.
Yeah, me too.
and it's just, I don't know how does it, but how do we vent, especially? How does it come out eventually?
I feel like it's usually just, I guess it depends on the situation.
Where does it go? Because I find myself, if I'm having constant, struggles with someone or a certain situation, then ultimately I do the usual risk management thing, or like I say to myself, okay, so if I speak up now, is it going to change or is it not going to change? If I feel like there's a chance for a change, I will speak up. Yeah. But if I feel like nothing's going to, speaking up is not going to advance me in any way, then I'm not going to bother.
Yeah. I feel like for me, sometimes also, I am very, like, I'll release that tension when I'm alone. So, like, I always have said, like, I feel like sometimes a shaken bottle of soda, or like, I'm bottling it up, and I'm upset, and then it's like somebody just takes the cap of the soda bottle and just lets out a little bit, and then closes the lid again, and I release it for like 2 seconds, and then I'm, back to just kind of...
This is so weird, but it feels so accurate when you're describing it. I tend to agree. This is so weird. Yeah. And like, I realize now, when I feel very, very low, like this, it used to be more a thing of the past, thankfully, but when I don't know if it was the same for you, but as a teenager, I used to have these really, really bad highs and lows. So, I don't know, maybe it was a chemical thing. I had a problem, like, for sure. If I saw a shrink, I think I was eligible for, some chemicals for sure. But where was I going with this? So I realized that, and this is something that I've been taking with me since. I had other methods of coping that were not as healthy, but we're not going to get into that. But I realized that when I was feeling really down, I would listen to very, very tragic songs, or like music that was like suicidal music.
Yeah.
And that really helped, because I would basically make myself feel worse, and then I would start climbing back up from that point.
Yeah. It's like oddly cathartic.
Yeah. It's weird, but it worked every time.
Yeah. I'm curious to see some of the other responses on this.
Any form of escapism.
This person said, shutting down like my phone entering low battery mode.
Well, yeah, I mean, our phones make us miserable, so it does. I genuinely believe that. I become an average INTP and start to doubt my existence. Oh, I love you, whoever you are.
I like this person's response. I withdraw into my pathetic shell of loathing and isolation.
Yeah. Someone says, self-indulgence. I eat whatever I want. I drink, I smoke, I binge watch TV. This is
That's the
demon.
Beth Harmon effect.
Exactly. That's the demon.
Yeah.
And then I squeeze my butt cheeks and suck it up. Oh, that's beautiful.
Eloquently put. Thank you.
That's poetry. I don't have that, thankfully. I don't have that. But I could have had it, to be honest, because I love... Do you drink?
Very infrequently.
So I feel like alcohol is the drug of choice for INTJs. I don't know why.
I feel like that is actually something that's pretty common amongst INTJs is, I believe, drug and alcohol.
Why is that? Why not coke or heroin?
It's probably because they're depressants. I mean, alcohol is definitely a depressant. I can't imagine like an INTJ getting upset and then taking like an upper
yeah,
or anything like that.
But we do need the uppers because it's like, why do we want to sink even lower than we already are? It doesn't make sense. But I don't know. It's like my music. It's like my depressing music.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was, in my earlier years, I was a second from developing a habit. If I hadn't, I do. I love alcohol. I feel terrible for saying this. I'm sorry. Drink responsibly, people.
Exactly, yeah. I have a drink, like, I will socially drink every once in a while, and, like, you know, we're out at a nice restaurant, I'll have, like, a glass of wine, or at home, just relaxing with a glass of wine, but once in a while, I don't know. How often do you go out to drink?
So I don't go out to drink. This is gonna sound terrible again, but I actually drink alone. But I don't do it as often. So when I was really close to having a problem, this was in my early and mid-20s, we would go out partying. I know that's kind of weird, but we were a bunch of, you know, friends. We would go out partying every other weekend.
That's really funny. I actually also had a going out every other weekend phase in, like, my very early 20s.
I know. It's so weird because it's not like us, but
No.
look at us doing it.
I know.
Yeah.
That was my hoe phase.
Yeah. Exactly. But over and done with, and you can never see yourself doing that again, right?
No.
So.
I mean, I wasn't even, like, really... I say that, but it was more just, like, I wasn't acting like a hoe. I was just going out.
No, me neither. But we were just doing, you know...
Just
we
being
were
young
the
people.
works.
Yeah.
The works.
Yeah.
So... I don't know. There was some alcohol involved, and then it just became... Because, obviously, you know, you get... like the tolerance of it, essentially. So you drink more and more and more. And
right.
I found myself, you know, realizing this could potentially become a problem if I don't slow down. Yeah. But nowadays,
I mean, at least you had the self-awareness to realize that.
Yeah, and I still do. It's important because I remember this was already a while ago, but like a few months ago, I don't remember exactly what it was, but I was really upset or like I don't know what it was, anxious or sad. I was like, wow, I wish I had a drink right now. And that is the problem right there, because if you want to drink because of the way you're feeling, you know, if you're feeling down and you want to drink, then that, you know, that right there is the problem, the connection between the two.
Very true.
So yeah.
All right. Well, that was quite a conversation. Kind of a downer note to end on, but that's okay.
Yep. But that's very me, at least. That's how we end.
I mean, we can end on a lighter note. We have some recommendations.
I always want to tell people what I've been watching, what I've been reading, but do you want to start or should I?
You can start.
All right, so we have a book club, and each month we have 2 picks. We try to do one dark academia related book and one classic. So I'm not sure if I'm reading the classic this time, but I did finally pick up Bunny by Mona Awad. And I gotta say, have you read it?
I've read it, yeah.
And what did you think about it?
It was interesting. The way that it very much gives kind of, have you seen the 3rd season of American Horror Story?
No, I only saw the first 2, I think.
Okay, Coven was the 3rd season.
Evan Peters, my love. Can I just... I love this man. Okay. I just had to say that.
I feel you. It very much gives a similar vibe to that season of American Horror Story.
Yeah, I feel, you know, reading this book, it threw me into so many, you know, pop connotations, whatever. Like, you can really see the influence of stuff in her writing. But it reminded me of so many movies and TV shows. It reminded me of Heathers. There's actually a reference to Christian Slater in that specific movie that he was playing JD. And so Heathers, it really reminded me of Jennifer's Body, the iconic movie with Megan Fox. Mm-hmm. What else? Mean Girls, obviously.
Yeah.
Riverdale, because Do you know the show Riverdale?
I know of it. I have not watched it though.
So in this show, I mean, it gets progressively worse, but I saw like one season or two, and at the beginning, because it starts with a murder mystery, so at the beginning it's very atmospheric and it's very horror-ish. So that aspect really, it's very like, there's a very strong presence there that kind of kept throwing me to Riverdale. But I feel like the book itself, I really enjoyed it. I think she is a very good writer. But my issue is always with contemporary, pieces. My issue is always that there's too much influence and mannerism of other artists and others, pop influences coming in from every direction. That is my issue. Because once it starts feeling too familiar, I don't know, it's almost like it loses a part of its authenticity, but the book does touch on a lot of important themes and subjects that are very relevant, to our times, and it's a great transgressive fiction piece, because ultimately the heroine is kind of breaking away from society and completely losing it.
Yeah.
So I thoroughly enjoyed it. I even gave it 5 stars on Goodreads.
Yeah, it was a little bizarre. I did enjoy it though. I think I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars when I read it.
I love the bizarre. But yeah, so self-love, baby.
Right.
So the second thing, the second rec is Baby Reindeer, the TV show on Netflix.
My friend just watched that.
It's been popping like crazy, and I've been trying to get better at watching things while they're being talked at, because it's just not the same if I watch this, a year from now. Nobody's gonna... People are moving on to the next big thing real quick. But I was sufficiently interested just reading and hearing about it. I knew that it's very... again, the themes are just very, like... I don't know, like very relevant to today's everything that's going on. Have you seen it?
I have not, but I do want to watch it.
Yeah, so I'm not going to, like, I'll be careful about spoilers, but essentially it's this guy, he meets this slightly older woman. He's like in his 30s or something, I think, and she's slightly older. She's 42, and she starts coming to the bar where he works and stalking him. Like, at first, he's being kind to her because he feels bad for her. She seems very lonely and kind of lifeless. Obviously she starts telling him all these crazy stories that she's a lawyer. She's a very successful lawyer working with the story takes place in London. So she tells him that her clients are some of the biggest politicians in Britain and all sorts of things. And he's kind of... So she says that she's this very successful lawyer, but on the other hand, she walks into the bar and he's asking her, what will you have? And she says that she can't order anything because she can't afford it. So already, something just doesn't add up. But the psychology behind the TV show is very interesting, because his character went through some things before he met her. And when you first see them interacting, some of the decisions that he makes don't really make sense to the viewer. But then you start, the story starts opening, around his history, and then it starts making more sense. Like, why his decisions and the way that he chose to kind of move forward with his relationship with the stalker, Martha. It starts to make more sense, and you realize that there's a lot of gray in between. There's lots of shades of gray there, and kind of what they take from each other, what they give to each other. I don't know, like, I find it fascinating. their interaction.
Yeah, I definitely want to watch it. I have heard that it's very good.
You should, and it's only like, I think 8 episodes, I think. But it's so good. I highly recommend it. I really do.
Awesome.
Yep. So what about you?
Both of my recommendations are actually things that have been out for a while. The first, I did read Circe by Madeline Miller recently. I have read The Song of Achilles. I know you have also read that.
Yeah.
I actually enjoyed this possibly slightly more than
Really?
Song of Achilles. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay. That
Yeah.
means something.
I know. It's definitely less tragic than, well, in a way, less tragic than Song of Achilles.
Mm-hmm.
I did like, it has very strong messages of like self-acceptance, misogyny, taking back power for yourself. I don't want to give away too much, but yeah.
But it does sound amazing.
It's very good. I always enjoy a Greek mythology retelling, so I
Me
knew I was
too.
going to like it going in, but it just really solidified it when I read it. I was like, yeah, this book is it's worth the praise that it has received.
I should read it soon. It's been on my shelf for way too long.
Yeah, if you're not somebody who's if you're not familiar with Greek mythology, I would recommend reading Song of Achilles first and then Circe. Just because if you don't know the story of Achilles, there's, I guess, technically spoilers in Circe. But if you're familiar, go ahead and read them in either order. I believe Circe came first, so you can definitely read that one first. The other book that I would recommend that I read recently is the book My Body by Emily Ratajkowski, I believe her name is pronounced.
She is so beautiful.
She
Emily
is very
Ratajkowski.
beautiful. Ratajkowski, there we go. Yeah, there is a section in the book, I kind of knew what the book was going to be about going in. There is a section where she mentions that she had like posted a photo of herself, I believe on Instagram, and an artist painted it and then basically made her buy the painting of herself back for like $250,000 or something like that. Like she couldn't even have possession of her own image without having to purchase it from this man who just took it from her Instagram page.
Hollywood man.
That was kind of I was angry for her reading that, but that book is very, very good. It's a very quick read as well. I got through it in about I would say 2 or 3 days.
Yeah. I know that book used to pop when it first came out. Like it was
did,
everywhere.
Yeah.
I find her very sexy.
Yeah, it's funny because I only knew her from the music video that she appeared in, the Blurred Lines video. I knew that she's also has dipped into like acting and things too, but
she was. I saw her in We Are Your Friends. It's a movie with Zac Efron. It's really interesting. It's about the rave scene. It's a good movie. It's a good.
Oh. Yeah, I think I do remember hearing her in that movie, or about her being in that movie.
Yeah, so she played the love interest, his love interest. And also, I don't know why she's getting so much hate, though, because I sometimes check out her Instagram, and she posts, obviously, all these sexy selfies or whatever. And obviously, she is gorgeous, but I feel like there's something to her that's gotten not much to do with her physicality, but more the way that she feels in her skin and in her body. It really shines through, and she looks, I don't know how to, like, her sexiness comes from within. It sounds so cliche, but you see her move, and she looks so complete.
Think, a lot of people hate her for it, and so it seems like she gets a lot of backlash.
I mean, she's got the perfect body, the abs, the big tits, whatever. But it's not just that. It's not even mainly that. It's I don't know. She is truly a symbol.
Yeah, the book is a collection of essays, and she is a phenomenal writer.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I'm assuming she didn't write it, or maybe
no. I believe
she did. Really?
Yeah, this woman's like the complete package. She's very beautiful and very smart.
Okay, that is very surprising because, you know, when celebrities, when they publish their book, it's...
ghostwriter.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I believe that she wrote all of these essays herself.
That's really impressive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Alrighty.
Well, that about wraps it up for today, I think.
Yep. Okay, so we're 80 minutes in.
Oof. A little bit longer than last time.
But I'm hoping that our, the people that have been listening to us are enjoying or have enjoyed this episode.
Sorry, my Alexa's going off. I think this happened last time too.
I know. Maybe we should just get her on the pod.
Yeah, right?
I think that she is trying to. I'm not cutting this out.
No, leave it in. She's making a guest appearance on the podcast.
I know she is very welcome. It's not a complete episode if she hasn't made an appearance. Right. Okay.
Well, thank you for tuning in, everyone, and we will see you next time.
Yep. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.